Will the Noles get in the win column with a victory over Boston College?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith. Thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Seminoles football with me. Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid through the 30th of September and one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. We're one day out. Florida State versus Boston College inside Doak Campbell Stadium. This is as pivotal a game as you could possibly see. Florida State is in a scenario where they cannot afford to go 0-2 for all the reasons you would imagine, including just ruining all the momentum of the program, let alone the season. You cannot have that happen. So today we're going to talk about whether the Noles get a win and why it would have to happen the way it does. To get there, to get to that prediction, I have two areas that I want to discuss. I'd mentioned recently that I needed to get to the back end of Boston College's defense. What do they have? What am I interested in and learning about to kind of figure out the dictators, if you will, of what is going to transpire in this game. So let's look back. Florida State struggled throwing the ball down the field. Does BC have anybody in the secondary that you should be quote unquote scared about if you're a Florida State receiver, or anybody that is a difficult matchup, got special skill, etc.? That's what we're going to talk about right now. So here are the players and their stats at corner. This is the only position in my mind that's going to make a huge difference. Florida State's run game is going to get better based on what Norvell said when I talked about his press conference. We've got to work on us was the theme. Norvell went over that over and over again, and he's 100% right. They cannot worry about all the schematics of BC. They cannot. If you don't just do the basic stuff, it's not going to make any difference what team you're playing. And he also admitted by doing that, he knows, along with his staff, that they're going to have to adjust to what BC does kind of in the moment to a certain degree if they have something out of the norm. But it's the first game for BC. There's no film. So you're kind of doing that anyway. I mean, what other option would you have? So I'm okay with it. And that comes back to the cornerback position. Florida State's going to run the ball better. They should be able to get some play action. They've got a week to go over stuff. I would be shocked if this past week wasn't one of the most physical practice settings throughout the week that Florida State's had in a long time. They had to do that. I think they're going to run the ball better, which sets up the one thing without question that DJ Uyunglele does very, very well. And that's play action passing. Throwing it down the field when it's a plus or minus situation on whether or not you're going to run or pass. In other words, second and manageable, I'm really going to track that. I usually just track during games like first down runs. How many tries do you have? What are yards per carry? The other stat I'm going to track Monday night is going to be second down passes. If the Noles do well with the run, I'm really curious if it's 2nd and 4, etc. And that leads to these guys. Amari Jackson. This is a corner that's returning and played in 13 games for them, but he's not a super big guy. Now, let's think about Florida State's receiver corps. Hakeem, I think, is coming back. We'll see once the game starts. You've got guys like Deuce Spann. You've got guys like Portier. You've got guys that are quick too, like Jalen Lucas is going to play in the slot some, and they got guys like Chakai. They got a nice blend, but they got height. Morlock's probably going to be more involved. He better be. He needs to be. So they should be able to even attack what is the most experienced player if they're in zone, and I expect them to play a lot of zone at 5'10", 190. That's a good thing. Here are his stats for last year. He was a productive player. I'll give him credit. Amari Jackson was pretty good. 39 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, pass breakup, and he did have a pick 6. So the guy can play some ball, but that's their best guy. The asterisk player is the next kid. Another corner, 6 foot, 185 pounds, Bryquist Brown. Played at Georgia State last year, transferred into BC. Played 9 games last year for Georgia State. 35 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 6 pass breakups, okay, and an interception. The other 2 corners, they got Max Tucker. He played a little bit. 9 tackles, a couple pass breakups. He's 5'11", 185. And Jalen Cheek, 26 tackles, 3 pass breakups. They just got some guys. They don't have any dominant player. Amari Jackson's the one guy, but again, he's 5'10". Florida State, you got Brown and you got Benson. Those are the 2 main guys. They're around 6 foot or so, but they can really go. They might be able to run by him even. And then you got those bigger guys I mentioned. This should be a matchup that Florida State wins if they can run the ball the way I expect them to. But after what I saw against Georgia Tech, I probably shouldn't expect anything. And I'm sure I'll get some comments on YouTube. And by all means, comment on YouTube because this is a discussion place. I want to talk Noles, good, bad, and indifferent. You got an opinion? Go right ahead and share it. With the point about play action, I do want to make one point. DJ is going to take heat or get all the credit. That's kind of the way it works with quarterbacks. Florida State, if he does throw it up, they need to win some 50-50 balls. And I don't care which guy it is. Ja'Kai, could be Malik, could be Jaylen Brown. I don't care. They need to win some 50-50 balls. If they do not, this game will go down to the wire. If Florida State dictates the pace with some decent running game, even decent, not like 250 or anything, just 125, 130 yards would get you close to decent. They can get over 150, then you can have more chances for those shots. So that's important as well. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about the concerns for Florida State, and I've got 3 of them. And then after that, we're going to talk about the concerns on the offense that need to get fixed. And then finally, the prediction. That's next here on Locked On Seminoles. Have you gotten 5-hour energy lately when you're going through your grocery store checkout line, maybe seen it at the convenience store? The little bottle that's sitting right there, it's easy for you to get a pick-me-up. 0 sugar, it's convenient, portable size, and it's the perfect opportunity for you to get your day started. 5-Hour Energy's website also has all kinds of different flavors, whatever you're into. Watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and other different flavors. You can try any one you want. You can also mix and match and get 12 packs, 24 packs delivered right to your door. That's up to you on how you want to do it. It's very convenient. 5-Hour Energy is the brand hardworking people like you have trusted for over 20 years. Give it a shot. So go to 5-Hour Energy and find out for yourself because the number 5hourenergy.com is the place to get good savings. You can use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Florida State definitely has concerns. Definitely has concerns coming into this game that still need to be addressed. And I know we've been harping on it, but you play a game and then you got to wait to the next one. We got to go to the fine tuning of it. And these are just my 3 main concerns. You can take them however you want. I'm going to start with defense, then I'm going to go to offense. Number 1, defensively. If this is yet another game where Florida State's defense, and I'm not just talking the DNs and outside linebackers here, collectively as a team fails to contain the edges and does not stay in their rush lanes, meaning it's even worse if a guy goes up the middle. If they fail in that regard, my post-game podcast will be apocalyptic. This is the end of the road for me. Last year against Castellanos, obviously they stunk at it. He threw for 295 and he ran for 95. So 390 yards of offense. They know he can play and they just had a bad game. There is no excuse not to be dialed in up front, the run gap scheme, the whole 9 yards. No excuse. With that, that is my number 1 priority. But let's be clear. You still got to get after him, and I expect him to come after him to a certain degree, get him uncomfortable, looking down at the ground, not at his receivers. That leads to really just losing track of your progressions. Does BC's offensive line have it together? We went over that earlier this week. You can check out that podcast too. But I'm not so sure if the best thing to do is just one thing. You're going to have to mix it up. Blitz him, fake it, Use a 3-man front, shift at make his eyes move before the snap even comes. I know it's unfortunate to try to bringing complex ideas, but just playing vanilla against a guy with his physical traits probably doesn't work. Castellanos was literally, for those that don't know, recruited to play running back at schools like Florida State and Clemson. That's the kind of athlete we're talking about. He had over 1,100 yards rushing last year. Vanilla won't work because I'm sure they're going to have wrinkles being the first game. Bill O'Brien is an offensive guy. Like him or not, he's probably going to have a few things dialed up. Sweep to the right. Castellanos rolls left and they throw back to him. If he gets the ball in the open field, he's as dangerous as any one given player in college football. Something like that. Florida State needs to win the basic downs. They're probably going to get caught with something because most teams do in a first game. BC has nothing to lose because they were terrible. What little I saw of them last year beyond the Florida State game, that was the one game they came out and really played well against a quality opponent, kind of start to finish. They were terrible in a lot of their big games. But they also had a couple of games they were allowed to stick around because teams didn't take them serious, and Castellanos and some of his guys would make a play and it'd come down to the end. They won a couple of games in a row too. The teams that didn't take them serious got the L. I highly doubt that's going to be Florida State this week. 2, tackling. Forget Thomas Castellanos for a second. Just in general, there are a couple of points about this that I brought up, and it is still the most concerning. BC's got a big receiver transferred in from Texas Tech. They've got a pretty good receiver that transferred in from another school, and a kid that's, well, quite honestly, just kind of took the bull by the horns last year and was their guy right out the bat being a college player. I don't know the health of all three, but if you've got 3 quality receivers and a guy that can run around like him, you don't stay in the rush lanes, you better tackle in space at the very least against these guys. They're going to make some catches. And then the running game, they're going to come after you. Castellanos might do some basic play, almost like wing T plays. It wouldn't surprise me as a runner. Have the running back lead, and then they're going to have their traditional guard tackle pulls. Florida State has struggled with all that stuff. Last week against Georgia Tech, there were guys in the open field that didn't go down right away on contact. All those things just add up. Yards after contact. It's annoying to talk about. Like, that shouldn't be a point that I have to make. But it's why I put it number 2. It's just tackling. I hope, and they better have hit a bunch this week in practice, like I mentioned earlier. Even did something on a show earlier this week about it. Because if Florida State does it, that's going to be a big, big problem. Let's go to number 3. Turnovers. Last week, Florida State, against a team that turned it over constantly in 2023, got the goose egg. That cannot happen this week. Home opener, quality opponent, elite athlete behind center. You got to have your head on a swivel and look for any missed opportunities by them, meaning they have poor ball security. They might get a 15-yard in route. He's not down yet. You can hold him up. Next guy knocks the ball loose, off and running. It is about simplicity in that regard. It's something Norvell talked about right out the gate at the press conference this week. We got to make sure our eye focus is good. We got to make sure our tackling form, all those things, they got to do that. It's just basic football stuff that didn't happen last week. That's my concern. You can still get positive plays out of them gaining yards. Knock them back. Make sure they remember it. And again, the opportunity to pull a turnover out of nothing, whether it's a pick or a fumble, you got to capitalize. Florida State failed last week. That is a concern for me, but I do think the practice time will help. We'll see how that goes. Now let's turn the page to the offense and talk about the 3 concerns there. Number 1, first down runs. This is something that I track in games that I'm curious about, like really curious teams trying to build. They're having problems, whatever. Forget the number, but from the Georgia Tech game, I think FSU averaged like 1.6 yards per carry on first down runs in the second half, something just abysmal. You're not going to get Joe Montana, John Elway, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, I don't care who it is behind center, to be in a good situation when it's 2nd down and 8. 2nd and 8 sucks. You do that consistently, your offense will find a way to stall. It's proven. Minimum 4 yards per carry on first down is what you want to average. And you certainly don't want get a couple 8-yarders, get a first down, and then your next play is -3. Can't be up and down like the Dow Jones either. Consistency. That's everybody involved. Tight ends, receivers blocking, obviously the offensive line. And DJ, we don't know all the stuff that he's calling. He's got to make sure they're in the right running play. That's the first thing. I'm not sure what BC is going to run. It's a new staff. We'll see. New head coach, even though like the DC and some of the guys are back, there are going to be some changes. They've got to be able to adjust on the fly. Again, that's what Norvell talked about. If they can do that, the first down run should be, again, pretty good. I'll be disappointed if they don't average 4.5 yards per carry just in general, but you really want to be at that mark on first down. Because if you do, DJU becomes a completely different kind of ball player. He is set up for that kind of offense. With that in mind, whether the running game is doing well or it's just mediocre, DJU must let the ball fly. No hesitations. 50-50 is ours. If he has a slight edge on a go ball, let it fly. You cannot wait for the opponent to take the game to you. BC has nothing to lose here. They're not supposed to beat Florida State. And Doe Campbell, come on. They're going to turn it loose. Florida State better give it to them and pretty early in the game to knock down that momentum. A sure way to do that is to hit a deep ball. Do you want to stop a team from blitzing? See that single high safety, throw the ball deep down the sideline and connect. Maybe they go cover zero, no safety. You run a post, deep over route, whatever it is. You're going to find a way to get deep on them because I guarantee you they're going to come after you sometimes. You might call a few deep shots and they got zoned and you got to check down. That's okay. That's okay. When that time comes and you catch them in the right coverage, the all of averages will play your favor, and then it's up to you to make those shots. It only has to be a couple of them. One really does need to be earlier in the game, though. They need to have it. They didn't have fortuitous with a few of the coverages Georgia Tech ran last week, and because of that, you might see BC in a lot of cover 3 or blitz, like just totally conservative or just come after them. BC might kind of mimic what Georgia Tech did. You still got to execute because Florida State missed on opportunities. So let's see what DJ and the receiving group does. And don't count out Morlock and those guys at the tight end position or Jalen Lucas getting the ball down the field either. 3, just in general, forget offensive line, forget the play calling. Offense for the Noles has a lot of experience. Kentron and Deuce and some of those guys at receiver. Morlock and West and some of the guys at tight end. The offensive line's got a gazillion start. I think it's 210 going into the first game. DJU's a 5th-year senior. You got Jalen Lucas, who's played in Indiana, it's transferred in. You got Keziah Holmes, who played at Penn State. You've got Tofiwa, it's been at Florida State now. He's a grad student. Like, there's no excuse. It is time to rally the wagons, get them together, and figure this out. Whatever it is they need to talk about to hash it out for the offense, I'm curious about it because I was really surprised that many veterans looked that inept in the prior game. That's my key. Like, they got to talk that out. Player meeting or something this week probably happened in some capacity. I'm assuming they're going to fix some of that. And they should be pretty jacked up because now they can play with house money too. They're still Florida State. They should beat BC, but nobody believes in you now. If I don't see some fire in the belly that's kind of coming out and it's obvious in how Florida State plays against BC, that's when I know I got to do another podcast like, oh, this could go really south. Let's see if DJU and the offense, could be Mo, whoever is the leader of this, but how well do the seniors play and how well do they lead as Florida State gets ready for its final game, or first game, in Doak Campbell Stadium against BC. When we come back, I'm going to give my prediction for Florida State versus Boston College. That's next on Locked On Seminoles. Hey, Locked On Florida State fans, I want to give you a moment and a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and call your shot to bring your college football program to glory. Imagine being Florida State's head coach. Pretty cool. From recruiting players and coaching staffs, overseeing training camps and everything that comes with it, like scholarships, you control the crucial steps of your football program. It's all in your hands. And here's what everybody should love about the game. You are responsible for calling offensive plays. So your strategy is the one that oftentimes dictates whether you win or lose. It's up to you. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free. no ads, and 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want, where you want. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked On Seminoles fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all in caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. Download the game by visiting ultimate-cfb.com or look it up in the app stores. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Download it today. It is prediction time. Florida State versus Boston College. I've kind of went back and forth on this, on how I thought it would go. There's one thing I'm pretty sure of. It won't be a blowout either way. I just think it'll be a game that'll be competitive with a few shifts. The more mature team, the more mentally stable team, and the one that prepared the best this past week will come out of Doak Campbell Stadium with a victory. I expect that to be the Florida State Seminoles, but I don't expect them to hammer Boston College. This will be a game they have to struggle with into the fourth quarter to win. This is how I see it. Florida State will come out. They will be more assertive, more aggressive. They'll have some good play calls. Norvell and his staff will have Atkins back. They'll have a lot of guys ready to roll. But the most important thing, balance. Offensively and defensively, I think they'll both take a step forward. Not where they need to be by any means. I am not stating that for those of you that want to throw rocks and comment as you see fit, but I think they will improve. I look for the Noles to be at 150 yards rushing and about 225 yards passing. Certainly far better than the 291 total yards if they can get to 375 this week. And I also expect them to be a little more consistent in the red zone and other opportunities. Just look better as a football team. With that, I've got the Noles winning 31-24. This is going to be a game, again, I think will go into the fourth quarter. It'll be something like 24-17 headed into the fourth. And I think the Noles will hold on to win. With that, please hit that like button and that subscription. Make sure you share and comment on YouTube. I'd love to hear what you got to say. And above all else, I truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Locked On Seminoles football with me. I am also here to give you a heads up. Make sure you check out Locked On College Football with my guy Spencer McLaughlin, from all the transfer rumors to all the stuff going on in the courtroom with Florida State and the grant of rights. He talks college football across the platform. Make sure you give Locked On College Football a listen. I will see you again on Monday.